Councilmember Stiles is going to open us up. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate you coming online and I appreciate you coming in person. It's only taken 75 years to finally get here. Our first application was submitted in 2018. So we are so excited to finally be here. Bridgecrest Drive is going to get speed humps. Barge is here. They're going to share, Birch is here. They're going to share the design and show us where they are intending to put speed humps. The purpose of this meeting is to see what they're proposing, have conversation, any feedback, then they'll take that. If they need to, they can make some changes. And if we want to have another meeting, we can schedule another meeting. Or if we're good with what they propose tonight, then we send them on their way. And usually it takes about 6 months from once we have these meetings. All the materials have to be ordered, so on and so forth. I, of course, will be on this like white on rice. So I will keep everybody updated when they're going to be coming, but we really won't be looking to see these until 2025. So just want to level set expectations.
Great. That's always good.
All you.
Can you hear us on the chat? If we're not loud enough, put in the chat, please, and let us know. We'll do our best to project better, but I'm going to stand close to the computer because that's where my microphone is, so the people that have joined online can hear us. But I'm Amy Birch. I'm a traffic engineer and consultant that works with NDOT to facilitate the traffic calming program. With me, I have Ryan, and he's going to help monitor the chat, make sure if there's any questions that are put in the chat box that we get to those as we go through this, and take notes as we go along to get your feedback. But like Councilmember Stiles said, we're here to give you an update about how your street got selected for traffic calming, some information about what tools we have for traffic calming, and then a proposed plan that we've put together, just a concept for Bridgecrest Drive, so that we can get your feedback, and then if we if we're on the right track, we can put that into a bigger design or a more detailed design and move forward in the process. So let's go with just a few background things about what traffic calming is. We do this program, NDOT does this program and applies traffic calming measures on residential streets. So not streets like Nolensville, Pike, or Murfreesboro Road, but more residential streets. And it's a modification of the street through physical measures to encourage and really get those slower vehicle speeds on residential streets. And so we're targeting speed reduction with this program. We always talk about the 3 E's of traffic calming, being education. Part of that is what we do here in these meetings to educate the community about a project and what these tools are and how you are to, drive over them or through a street that has traffic calming. And then enforcement, that's the job that the police department does. They obviously have a big job, can't monitor all these streets all the time, 24 hours a day. So that's where NDOT comes in with the engineering solution for traffic calming. So physical measures to encourage slower speeds on residential streets. And we do this with the idea of the strong correlation between safety and speed, and how this folds into Nashville's Vision Zero program. But this infographic is showing the correlation between vehicle speed and a pedestrian's chance of survival if struck by a vehicle at that speed. So on the left, we start with 25 miles per hour. So if a pedestrian is hit by a car that's going 25 miles per hour, they have an 89% chance of survival. And then as it goes to 35 miles per hour in the middle, that chance of survival goes down to 68%. And then at 45 miles per hour, the chance of a pedestrian survival goes down to 35%. And this is national data that we're referencing here. So as you can see, and it's pretty clear, faster the car goes, greater the impact, the human body is very fragile. So less chance of survival at those higher speeds. So we really want to get those speeds down on residential streets where we expect pedestrians to be using the street, walking to school or the park or so forth. But the other thing about speed and safety is that not only are crashes, when they do occur, less severe at slower speeds, but also they can be avoided more easily altogether if the vehicle's going slower, because you have a longer time to react, slow down, stop, avoid the collision altogether. So that's why we're really focused on speed with this program. So this is an application-based program that NDOT has. There are 2 application windows per year, one in the spring, one in the summer usually. And as of our last calculation, we had over 480 neighborhood streets that had requested traffic calming. So we have a great demand for this program. It's very popular. And then with this most recent selection, Bridgecrest being one of the streets selected, NDOT selected 25 streets to receive traffic calming and go through the process of getting it installed. And that is associated with, available budget and so forth, of how we got to that 25 as a number of streets selected. Outside of the program, you may be having other things on your street that you need services on, like the street light is out, a sign's been knocked down, or anywhere, not just on your street, but anywhere as you're traveling around the city. You can report those to the hub.Nashville.gov. You can dial 311. There's an app you can download onto your phone, on your smartphone, and enter those requests and needs. Maybe your trash didn't get picked up or something like that. This is also a place you can make new requests, such as new signage is needed, or brush needs to be cut back to improve visibility and safety at an intersection. All sorts of maintenance issues. And what it does is the hub takes in these requests and needs of citizens and disseminates it to the right department within Metro. So it's not just NDOT, it's also Metro Water Services, NES, and so forth. So it's just a really great resource. I encourage you to use it. But let's go back and talk about traffic calming now. So I said we had 25 streets that were selected in this round in fall 2024. Now, how out of those 480 streets that have asked for traffic calming, how do we select which ones get it? It's a data-driven process. It's based on 5 criteria that we look at. And then those that score the highest in this process are the ones that are selected for that round. So we look at vehicular speed. We go out and measure the speed on the street. We compare the 85th percentile speed to 25 miles per hour, which is, as I talked about earlier, that speed where pedestrian survivability is higher, and it's also the posted speed limit on all residential streets in Nashville. So we compare that to those numbers. And so then we also look at volume. We look at, are there destinations like schools, libraries, parks nearby where we would expect people from the neighborhood and the street to be walking to and from. We also look to see, are there sidewalks on the street, or are there bike lanes on the street, transit stops nearby, other features of the roadway that may be increasing the exposure of pedestrians walking around or cycling and so forth. And then we also look back at data to determine if there's been a pedestrian injury or bicyclist injury or fatality over the past 10 years, and that's factored into the process. So as you can see in the pie chart, speed is weighted the highest at 45%. And the volume is the second highest at 25%. So from this prioritization process and methodology, Bridgecrest scored high enough to be in that top 25 selected. So I want to show you some of the data that we've collected on Bridgecrest that went into the process of it getting selected. We measured the 85th percentile speed to be 38 miles per hour. So I do want to explain what that is. The 85th percentile speed is the speed that 85% of the traffic over the course of a day was measured going that speed or below. But it also means that 15% of the traffic over the course of the day was going above 38 miles per hour. And that's just a number that we traffic engineers often look at. Councilmember, you had a question?
Not a question, for us, we go from 20 to 30, 28.
20 to 30?
Yes, 30.
39. Oh, more narrow at the end, yes, yes.
So let me ask you a question. When was the speed data retrieved? Because I live right smack on Bridgecrest, and I can tell you 38 miles an hour is slow for most people.
Yeah, yeah. We collect it every round, but we don't like recollect Bridgecrest necessarily. If we collected it in the spring, we wouldn't necessarily collect it again in the fall. So I can't tell you exactly when it was, but it's fairly recent, within the last 2 years. And then where it's collected, sure, that goes into factor as well. But 38 is fast. We believe it's fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're here to address that. And even if the speeds are higher than that, we're wanting to, we think the tools we have will help address that as well. So you are lucky, you've got sidewalk on one side of the street for most of the street, and there's, you know, sporadic on-street parking, which can kind of have some traffic calming effects, because you may end up in a situation where you're meeting cars, there's cars parked, and so you have sort of a yield flow, so you have to slow down and let people pass, which often we hear is kind of an annoyance, but it does help slow traffic down as long as people aren't driving and hitting the parked cars, right? So just wanted to show some of the data that we collected and looked at. And then this is a map showing the limits of our project. So the limits of the application were Rural Hill Road on the southeast side to the end of the street, which kind of turns into a cul-de-sac, but there's several streets that come off of Bridgecrest. So this map is taken from our online tracker map for the whole program. So we map all the streets that have applied for traffic calming, so you can go in and see if your street has an application on file. We map when where the project is in the process. I've highlighted Bridgecrest green, and green in here means we're in the meeting and design phase for this project. And we have some aqua colors and so forth. And those are, you know, if they've gone through the design and are waiting for construction, we're color coding those. And then if a street's been completed and, you know, speed cushions and so forth have been installed, then we're marking those as well. So you do have some speed cushions, some vertical devices on streets nearby Bridgecrest, so you're probably familiar with some of our tools that we have. We have a question?
Yeah, somebody mentioned two more streets in the neighborhood, Brownlee and Edencrest. I guess if you want to mention those.
Edencrest?
Separate applications.
Separate applications, yes. Edencrest that kind of connects around Bridgecrest. It is pink, highlighted here, so it means we have an application on file, but it has not been selected based on, you know, our prioritization and measuring all compared to the other streets that have applied for traffic calming. So Bridgecrest is the only one we're working on right now with this project. Okay, so now I'm going to talk briefly about some of the tools in our toolkit. Speed cushions is our primary tool that we use, and for a number of reasons, but they're very effective. People like them. They're easy to install. And so for those reasons, NDOT really likes to use these speed cushions. They are rubberized devices that are modular, and so we can arrange them in various configurations on a street, so that depending on the features of the street, how wide the street is, what the pavement markings on the street are. But one of the features of the speed cushions is you can see that they're, like the picture on the left, there's like one lump in each lane, and that is so that it allows emergency vehicle response more easily. So those larger vehicles like fire trucks and ambulances, they have a slightly wider wheelbase, so they are able to more straddle these speed cushions. And so they're not as affected for their emergency response. Whereas a passenger vehicle or pickup truck, they have a narrower wheelbase, and so they still have to travel over them. And so we take into all the considerations about how wide the street is and the pavement and excess pavement and so forth to arrange them so that people can't drive around them. We don't want to instigate some, less desirable situation even. So you can see these like different pictures and configurations. If the street is wider, we may use 3 across, and they have different types of markings on them, whether they're center line or not center line. Sometimes we'll put them on streets that have bike lanes, like this picture on the bottom right. And that, so we might use the white flexible delineator posts to protect the bike lane, because we don't want to cause drivers to drive into the bike lane to avoid the speed cushions. We also pair these with warning signs, these yellow signs that say speed cushion with an advisory speed plaque of 20 miles per hour. And then this picture on the bottom left is giving you sort of a profile view down at the street level to see how high they are. They're 3 inches high. And then we can arrange them in various lengths depending on what type of residential street it is and the volume and so forth. In more urban areas, we use the 7-foot lengths. And so as we get a little bit more suburban, we use the 10.5 foot. That's kind of our standard, or the 10.5 feet long as you travel over them that way, forward across.
What's the life cycle on those?
Really a long time. We have some that have been installed 10, 15 years. And the other thing about these being modular is maybe if one piece gets damaged, we can order from the manufacturer just one panel and reinstall it that way, and it's not a complete loss. Also,
Do you maintain?
it's more when we get requests from the hub or NDOT folks see an issue, they're gonna maintain it because we don't want to have it causing an issue for vehicles traveling over it. But yeah, it's more of when someone reports that it's been damaged. They do have markings on them. Sometimes those may fade, and we can repaint them or paint the markings on the roadway in advance so that people see them. Want to make sure they're visible. And then when we install these type of vertical measures, we do them in a series, because if we just put one set in the middle of a street and the street is otherwise, pretty long, we would expect drivers to continue their same behavior, maybe slow down real fast, go over that one set, and then carry on fast again, So we'll put them in a series to maintain a consistent speed along the length. So we'll space them anywhere from 400 to 600 feet apart. We are looking at things like driveway locations. We're not going to put them at the back of your driveway. So when you turn into your driveway or back out of your driveway, you're going right over, there's a lot of things we look at. Street intersections, hills, we can't put them on steep grade or on curves, but we place them around curves such that we try to slow cars down as they enter and exit a curve, something like that. So there's a lot of things we're looking at in where we're able to lay them out and design them. So speed tables is another vertical device. They're made of the same material, the rubberized modular material, but the difference is they don't have the gaps for the larger emergency vehicles to straddle. So they're all the way across the street. And they're kind of flat on top in the middle. But otherwise, the way you drive over them and effectiveness is very similar. So we want to show some data points that NDOT has collected for before and after these type of measures being installed. So the graph on the left is the average speed comparison before and after. Before being on the far left, it says it was 31 miles per hour on a street before the install. And then the after average speed went down to 22 miles per hour. And we measure this this data between sets of cushions. So we're not talking about even right at the cushion, but we're trying to make sure that we're getting that consistent speed along the street. And then that 85th percentile speed is the graph on your right. And that says that the 85th percentile speed was 37 miles per hour before the speed cushions were installed, and it went down to 25 miles per hour after the speed cushions were installed. So we're seeing that it's pretty effective, and we're reaching that target speed of 25 miles per hour, which is the posted speed limit. So this is a study of 6 different streets that we did a before and after study on to make sure that we were headed down the right track as we continue to install these on residential streets. Another tool in our toolbox, you've probably seen these on streets around your neighborhood, the radar feedback signs. They are typically posted with speed limit signs, but it will show your speed as you're approaching. And so we also find that these are effective with the average speed reduction in our before-after study going down 6 miles per hour, and then the 85th percentile speed went down 7 miles per hour in our before-after study. But these are not really requiring any, they're not installed in the road or anything. So it's more of a reminder for drivers of, hey, let me show you your speed, because we sometimes don't pay attention to our speedometer as we're driving along. You had a question, sir?
I had those posted on Bridgecrest, last month, I think, right from back. On here, it says it collects the data, but online, it said it did not.
Did you have the speed trailer
It
installed?
was a training.
Yes. Okay, so the speed trailer is not collected the data. These do, and they can. That's how we're able to get some of this before after data. Exactly, but it's a reminder to drivers, and so those drivers that are conscientious, they really do pay attention to that and slow down some.
So is that one available on Nashville.gov?
The speed trailer?
No, this one.
Is this only installed when you put the cushions down?
No, this is a different tool from the cushions that sometimes we will use them where we cannot put speed cushions, or a neighborhood doesn't want speed cushions. We'll get to that part about, getting your feedback and all about the plan, but, no, so there are some streets, and NDOT has installed these on a lot of streets that maybe have higher volume than we can do in this program. We do have some volume thresholds, so I think I saw them on, Whispering Hills, maybe.
They over by, what's the street?
Tusculum had some.
No, it's the street where the.
A call?
Oh, Elysian Fields? Elysian
It's
Fields?
off of Elysian Fields, but it's up in that area, but.
Yeah.
Further down.
Right. So,
But they have the speed humps, or the speed cushions and those signs.
mhm. Yes, there may be sometimes like a hill or something that we can't put the cushions on, but we still want to address that part of the street, so we might do it, but we don't usually put them at the cushion because we think the cushion is going to do the job, to slow you down. So we don't need to remind people that they're going 25 miles per hour because the physical device in the roadway is getting that. But there are
The loud horn noise.
Uh,
And then doing 30 miles an hour, just. Scared the people out of you.
Right. All right, moving on to some of our other tools that are not so physical in the roadway are pavement markings, lane narrowings, things like that. We'll, when we have a wide street that doesn't have curb gutter and all that, we can narrow the roadway. It gives a visual narrowness, and drivers can slow down a little bit with that. We'll also at intersections sometimes incorporate bulb outs where we using paint in those white flexible delineator posts that are, about hip height. And, just narrow the intersection. So slower turning movements through the intersection is what we kind of achieve with these type of treatments. And it narrows the crossing distance for pedestrians, and so forth. So this is, the one on the left is just a really wide intersection, huge radii. And so we just want to tighten that intersection and make drivers feel more constrained and make slower turning movements. Then chicanes are a tool that we have in our toolbox, which is essentially, and it may be hard for you all to see on the screen, but essentially we're adding curvature to an otherwise straight street. And so these examples here in these pictures are showing where we alternated the side of the street that parking is allowed on, and it like goes back and forth, and the pavement markings communicate that to drivers that they need to veer to the right when they drive straight a little bit, and then it'll bring them back left. And then the parking kind of goes back and forth. So a lot of things have to, be right in order for this to work on a street, the right width, on-street parking being used and so forth. But it is something that we've used, or NDOT has used. I think these pictures are from Fairfax Avenue in the Hillsborough Village area, where there's a lot of demand for on-street parking, and the width is just enough for 3 lanes of traffic. So the parking takes 1 lane, and then we have the 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction.
So someone's
Yes.
on, the fact that there's street parking.
So we have a question. Yes.
Sort of about the widths, how they work out.
Right. So it is something we could look at if that's what the neighborhood is interested in. And
It was, the street has another major issue. Cars park along the side of the street, and the width of the street is almost enough for 1 car to pass at the same moment. This issue needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it's gotten worse, progressively worse over the years. There used to be able to go down 2 cars at a time can pass, but now we've got so many cars on the road that, yeah, it's turned into a 1 lane almost.
right. And like I said, sometimes that is helpful for slowing cars down and, sort of sharing the street, sharing the road. But if chicanes are something that it's not what's on our proposed plan, but we're here to get your feedback and work together on a plan. But if that's something that you all are interested in, we can certainly see if that would work. But what would happen is we would, add striping to the street that zigzags the center line. We would designate which side of the street parking can occur on, and it would be illegal to park in the drive lane on the opposite side when the parking is on one side of the street. Does that make sense? So you can park here and there and directly in front of your house. You may end up in a situation where there's parking is not allowed in front of your house, and it's down the street and over or something. So that's how that works. This is our last tool in our toolbox, are traffic circles. These are circular islands. We put them in the middle of intersections, usually wide intersections, where drivers they drive around them like a roundabout, in that you're driving counterclockwise around them. And what it does is on the through street, the main street of an intersection, those drivers need to divert around it, so they don't drive straight through the intersection. They circumvent around it, and so that gets them to slow down as they pass through the intersection. Typically, the traffic control, like the stop signs, do not change on a installation like this. So the side street would still have a stop sign. They would yield to cars coming and going on Bridgecrest, but the Bridgecrest traffic would slow down to go around that circle. Yeah. And somewhat near here are locations where these are installed are, or in South Nashville, I think Keeley Drive and, West Ridge, is that right? And East Ridge. You're familiar with those streets? I think that's where we have some installed.
Here, I know this is a very, very informative meeting.
Mhm.
And I think it would give us some additional points of discussion. Because this, just me sitting here, like this circular, traffic circle will be great at the back end of Bridgecrest and Bridgecrest Drive. So that'll prevent people from the 1700 series from revving up
Yeah,
speed.
okay. All right.
So I don't know, we can make a note of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
yes. We're, Ryan is taking notes and I'm mentally taking notes as we go along as well, that we're thinking about maybe traffic circles. And
Always stop there and leave.
yeah, that's right. That's a good point. What the point in the room was that someone made a request for an always stop and it was denied. And that's because we use always stops for traffic control when the volume is high enough to need it and different other, criteria, but I guess the NDOT determined that it was not, an appropriate solution and we don't use stop signs for traffic calming. It's not in our toolbox.
There was another person in the chat who's interested in the traffic circles.
All right. Someone else on the chat was also expressing some interest in the traffic circle. So let's talk about any questions about our toolbox, but we want to keep going on our plan. All right. So let me orient you first and then we'll dive into what this means. So the pink line is representing Bridgecrest. This is a very high level conceptual plan intended to get your feedback and ideas on, but we like to start with something. So what we're showing here is 5 sets of speed cushions along the length of the street, and they're spaced roughly 400 to 600 feet apart. And then at Edencrest Drive and Bridgecrest, I have the C, the circle C, and that's representing traffic circle idea of that there. That's kind of a wider intersection. It's got that left turn lane that turns into these townhomes down here on the side. And so I think we have enough room there to put in a circle there. And the reason I wanted to put something at this intersection is because otherwise we have some steep grade coming down off of Rural Hill Road, and we have limitations on where we can put the speed cushions. You can't put them on grade that's as steep as this.
And that's a good place too, because Bridgecrest is, has some
Yeah.
people that they don't stop at that stop sign coming out of there, so it's a habit. They do, they really do. I've almost got hit me 3 or 4 times, yeah.
So the Edencrest sides would still stop. They would still have a stop sign in this scenario, but instead of, they would have to sort of drive around. I'm gonna point. Slower movements. Likewise, if you're gonna off of Rural Hill, and you wanna go to this, in here, you would make a left around the circle or the island. Is that? So it also kind of acts as a little bit of a featured gateway in the neighborhood and so forth. So, but it would be made, the way we're doing these right now is they're rubberized curb, island in the middle, and then asphalt filled, and they would have some signage with it as well. Yes, we have a question here.
At the top of Bridgecrest.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have a comment.
The Bridgecrest and Bridgecrest. I found that. You're that one.
Thank you.
Wait, look, it just, about put my foot on the pedal, and there's no more thing. That really.
You can see, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Except all gonna sit several times, and then I put that.
Right.
So, many times I wish there was something there.
For Bridgecrest.
Bridgecrest and, Bridgecrest.
So, one thing I think this island will do in the middle of the intersection is slow that traffic on Bridgecrest as they approach the intersection. So, you coming off of Eden Crest, is it Eden Crest? Eden Crest. They're driving slower, so you have, more time to get in the intersection and before, hitting them, or before they hit you. Right. Plus, we've got a speed cushion in this plan, so they're gonna be slowing down
Before they even get there.
before they get there too. So it's all, kind of all works together with that.
So one goes continue.
How wide is this round today? How wide?
How wide?
Yeah,
The island?
yes.
They're probably about 12 feet wide, and they're centered in the intersection. And they're meant to drive, you go around them to turn left. And we would also incorporate some pavement markings and signage, to, angle vehicles as they approach it to go around it that way. So this is something we think is an idea, something more to think about. We would need to do a little bit more investigation, measurements and so forth to make sure it would work, but.
So where you have to proceed, in my opinion, that's perfect. So obviously Eden Crest loops back around Bridgecrest. So on the tail end is where I was sort of recommending the others.
Okay. That, I haven't looked in detail there, but I do believe, Councilwoman Stiles says it gets pretty narrow down there, right?
But not at that
But
point.
not at that point. Near the Ford.
The further, yeah, further down. Gotcha.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, so it's very wide down here, close to Rural Hill. That's where the 38 feet wide is. Got that turn lane there. And then it narrows again. Yes, Councilwoman.
We need one more speed cushion towards the back, past the last street, the back, which is the very no place. The racers that come out of the homes,
Out of the cul-de-sac.
and they race from the very back straight out. That'll give them way too much room. So we would need a speed cushion right after that last street that you see on the right of this back. Somewhere in
Okay, I'll talk with NDOT about that. We don't usually put them on cul-de-sacs, but that is noted and we will look at it. For sure. Okay, so I'm hearing maybe so what we would do if we put another circle at the other end of Eden Crest.
And then maybe perhaps, sorry, special, here.
Sure, by all means.
So my thoughts, we put the other C here,
Right there.
and then take these two and shift them back some feet, so that'll sort of help accommodate Councilwoman if you're unable to put the other.
Right, yeah. Did you see what he was saying, Councilwoman?
No, I'm looking past that.
Yeah, I know, you want another one back here, right?
Yeah, the first cushion that they have.
Right here?
Stop tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, so if we put another circle here at the back end of Eden Crest, then these two can shift closer towards you.
That.
If they're unable to put the,
Right there, by that first seat.
Yeah.
Straight right across the street.
Okay. Good deal. So, I'm hearing we kind of like the speed cushions and the circles and, we have some more field work to do, some more exact measurements to make sure that would work and spacing and driveway locations. Like I said, we don't put these at the back of your driveway. I'm hearing that we like this plan. Maybe we'll beef it up a little bit with another circle and shift the other ones at the end. So,
And
yes. Oh, we have another question?
Yeah, somebody was wondering about, winter ice and sort of the street grades that they're considered in, like, instead of opting.
The question is about winter time and ice and how all that works. I imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I would assume your street is not plowed. And so then there would be no issue with, them getting pulled up with the ice plow, the street cleaners, but where we do have these types of devices installed on streets that are plowed, the drivers, they have information, they know where they are. We also have the signs so that they can pick up the plow and not destroy the cushion as they go over them. So had a lot of experience with that. Was that last year?
Mm-hmm.
And not, it worked pretty well. Not very much damage happened to the speed cushions. But so they wouldn't be treated. We wouldn't do anything to them. They stay on the street as is. But they do have signage. You live on the street, you know where they're located and so forth.
There was another question
Mhm.
that came up. People are concerned about pushing the traffic by the other streets.
So the question in the chat box is concerned that this might push traffic to other streets. And I assume that would be Eden Crest, yes. There's an application there. We can always recollect data on Eden Crest after this is installed to see if that's happening. So you've got the before data for Eden Crest because it's been applied for already. And then we have the before and we can have after data for Bridgecrest. So it's something that we can monitor, but we can't say for sure how much traffic would shift and so forth. And so we focus on the street that's been selected, not trying to push any traffic away, of course, but some of that could happen. Yes, Councilwoman.
But I think the upside is that we don't have information. So we don't have information that wrong. Let's do it, they can have Bridgecrest. And I will be having conversations and speaking about the application that Bob Bridgecrest. Another situation, another neighborhood that's very similar, and part of the street is done, there's another portion of the street that is significantly effective. So I would let them know that as an navigational file, we're really strongly look at that street, that's fine.
Yes, it will continue, remains in the program as being a request for Eden Crest. And we can always collect additional data on the street to see if there's reason that it's ranks higher and needs traffic calming.
I can tell that, street being open. One that sounds like Robert, when we're talking about putting that second round thing.
One on the bridge.
Question on that is, kind of goes back to that, spin. If someone wants to develop on that hillside, it's really, it's very difficult land to develop.
Okay, so every time one city thing happened in place.
I know.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure, I mean, I think it would work out, even if that land were developed and that street were open, having that, circular, what do you call it?
Traffic circle, island.
Okay, having that there would prevent any additional craziness of it.
All right.
Builds on that street instead of like maybe, I don't know, it's between 20 and 70.
Yeah, I know it's pretty small back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the room, in case you're on the chat or joining us online, there's just been some discussion about potential for other development at the other end of the street. And Councilwoman does not think it's, in the immediate future or know anything about that happening. So let's move on to our program flow chart. Give you some history about how we got selected, where we are now. We went through, there was an application, Then we got through the prioritization process. Your street was selected in, August of 2024. Now we're having our first meeting. We're highlighted in red here that we're having our neighborhood meeting, where we talk about the program, our toolbox, and present our concepts so we can get some feedback from you all. From here, we would go into our more detailed design, our field measurements, width of the streets and exact locations of the speed cushions. We put that on the plan, like 50 feet from this driveway and so forth. So once that detailed plan is put together, you as a community can review that and see what that says. So you can have an informed decision about what our next step is, which is a vote on the project. So I'm going to go into more detail on the online ballot and some other slides in the construction process, but this little bubble at the bottom left, it says second neighborhood meeting if needed. So if during this meeting, we think we need to have another meeting, you want to see the more detailed design plan, how we incorporated, your comments, we can certainly do that. If we want to just keep this moving, and we all feel comfortable where we are and our understanding of what the design would look like, we can bypass that second meeting. We don't necessarily have to have one, and we can move straight into our online balloting phase. So we don't have to make that decision just yet. Let me talk more about our online ballot, and then we will circle back and you all tell us. But so NDOT wants to make sure that we're doing something in the neighborhood that is supported. So the way we do this is we have a voting for the project. So we would post the plan online, the detailed plan that tells you exactly where the cushions are and dimensions and so forth. And then you would get a postcard in the mail that gives you access to the online form. And it's one vote per property owner on the street. So if 66% of the voters, the people that vote for the project or against the project, if 66% are in favor, then it moves into the construction. So again, this is a postcard you get in the mail. It has a unique ID that's associated with your property address so that we make sure we don't have duplicate votes and so forth. And then it's open for 6 weeks. The top of the postcard will say when that ballot closes. And after that, it closes, the vote closes, we will count the votes and post them online. So residents, property owners have an opportunity to vote yes or no for the project.
So, this is sent out to residents, not necessarily property owners.
It's sent to the property owners. That's my next slide.
Property owners that are on file.
Yes, on Metro's,
Okay.
Metro's property data. Yes. So
Yes. Well, yeah, because, we have some property management companies managing some of these properties, and the residents are not the owners.
mhm.
So I want to make sure that the owners
Yep.
are aware.
And that's another good point, that the owners would be the ones receiving the postcard. And then if there's a property owner that owns multiple homes on the street, they just get one vote.
Okay.
And we handle that on the back end for us. And then vacant properties are not eligible. And you had a question?
Yeah, it seems 66% from the neighborhoods that be voting or from actually the.
Great question. The question is it 66% of the vote of people that are voting, or is it 66% of the property owners on the street? It is the first one. It's 66% of those that participate in the vote. So if you don't vote, it's not a no. It's just a not vote. You didn't vote, just like an election. If you voice your opinion, you get counted, yes or no. And so it's residential properties, churches and schools. We don't have that on this street. And it's properties that are abutting the affected street. So if your address is on, I'm making this up, but if your house faces Eden Crest, but you're on the corner and your address is Eden Crest, but you have, property abutting Bridgecrest, that property gets a vote, is eligible. So we don't count vacant properties and no businesses. So this image is pulled from Metro's tool that helps us select addresses. So it's a little bit deceiving because it captures these extra parcels that kind of, span over on Rural Hill. That's a vacant property. It's owned by, I think, the HOA, and that doesn't get a vote, but it just kind of gives you representation. So the townhomes, those are individually owned. Those properties get, they're eligible to vote as well because they have common ownership in the property around. That's how the process works. All right, so we are coming to the end of our slides. I do want to give you my contact information as well as NDOT's email address, NDOT.TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov, and I'm Amy Birch at birchtransportation.com. And then this QR code and web address goes to NDOT's traffic calming website, TrafficCalming.Nashville.gov. That's where our manual is. It's where you can find videos from these meetings that we post for all the streets that we meet with. You can find the plans are posted there. The results of the ballot get posted there afterwards and so forth. So just a lot of great information at that web address.
And how long did you say the online ballot would be available?
It's 6 weeks. So at the top of the postcard, it will be the date that it closes. So you'll know when you get it, go ahead and vote right away. You put it to the side, you may get lost. So I like to encourage people to vote right away and remind your neighbors to look for their postcard and vote. This is the best way we know to reach everyone is through the mail. And so we really want everyone to know about the project and have that opportunity to vote for the project or no, if that's the case. Also on these postcards, there's contact information. So if anyone receives it and they're unable to vote online for whatever reason, there's a phone number that can reach NDOT to get some help with that. You may have to leave a voicemail and get a call back, but you'll someone can help you guide you through that process. And if you receive your postcard and your neighbor didn't, I gave you my contact information. Please let me know or let your council member know, and we'll get that. Mail. They sometimes may not make it there, but we think they do, and they may get lost in your junk mail or something. So just be on the lookout for them. So I'm going to go back to our program flow chart because I talked about this optional second meeting, and do we think we need to do that, or we want to move forward with this concept plan? And I'm seeing council member back here. She
Yes.
likes it. She
I
thinks,
like the plan, but it'd be nice to see the actual design because I know, especially since, so I did reach out to several of the other folks in the community as well as townhomes to let them know about this, but because this will definitely impact them, I think after seeing this information, we need to do another reach out so we can have a second meeting and people see what's really going on with it. I'd love to have a second meeting.
okay. Is that what we want to do, council member? So the options are our process is typically that it takes a couple of months for us to get that design done. And it's several sheets, shows all the Christian locations along the street. And then we can post that online, and the access to view the plan online is accessed from that voting postcard. So anyone that maybe hasn't been, aware of it before, has that opportunity to see the plan that they're voting on. So it could be posted and move on from there with this understanding that I've heard what your ideas are to enhance the plan, and we're gonna work those into it so we can move forward with that. Or if we want to have another meeting, we can certainly do that.
Is there, opportunity to pose questions once that design is posted online?
We could send the plan to the council member in advance, or the link to the plan in advance, of the vote happening. But no, on the actual form where you vote, there's not, a comment section.
And that's what my concern is.
Mhm.
If somebody has a question about, the design that we all have, shared information on.
Right.
They won't get an opportunity to
So-
provide feedback.
We also, right, we also have, these meetings recorded and posted online. So we could direct people to this same meeting and hear all the same information that you're receiving, but a second meeting, what's that?
I like that.
You like that?
There's a thing that you can get that they can go on something, and then
You can, yes, right, you can put that in your,
it's fine. Here, they don't watch it. That,
I'd still like to see a second meeting because I'd like to see the design once it's done.
but don't back, don't like to show like what it actually looks like. There's usually this meeting,
right,
a suggestion, and then they show what it looks like. It's different than a second meeting of this exact.
Yeah, I don't need a second meeting for this. What I'm saying is the design, once the changes or the suggestions have been implemented, it'd be nice to be able to have that conversation
yeah, sure,
with people as
Sure,
opposed
sure,
to just going online and seeing it, because I may have questions that can be answered
right.
right here. As
Absolutely.
opposed
Well, let's plan to do that. We can still plan to present this. We may not go into all the detail of, what we've gone into tonight, but we can plan to, have that detailed plan, and, we'll show it on the screen, and I can talk about, you know, what house numbers they're near, so you can kind of see that, and they would also be posted online.
To even, that.
Typically about 2 months. And, I know we're getting into holidays, but we can,
Design from what tonight.
Mhm.
Show.
right. Right. Well, we're working with several streets at a time, so we're trying to, and you guys are the first, your council member was on it. She scheduled the first meeting of this batch of,
threaten her life.
no, you didn't.
I've
But,
been whining about this for 5 or 6
Right,
years now, so.
right. So we used to always have 2 meetings, and then there was a desire to just kind of move this process forward. And that's why we kind of said, if we don't have a lot of changes to the plan, we don't necessarily have to have a second meeting. But I'm hearing that we probably need to. So we'll get on that. We'll get that plan going, and let your council member know when we're ready to have that second meeting, and advertise it the same way with the postcards, and your council member. And then we can also, in advance of that, council member, I can send you the link to this meeting, recording. And, you can put it in a newsletter, or, however you want to disseminate that information, so that people can hear the discussion if they're interested, and, know about the project. Does that sound okay with you? I know we want to move it along.
Carry.
So, is that a, I know you want to move it along, right? Yeah, so, we will move it as fast as we can, and be prepared to share this information and then have the ballot done.
Sounds good. We're excited. We're ready.
All right. So, on the construction, I think I mentioned this, but our council member did it when we started, but after that, we don't order the materials for the projects, until after the ballot closes, because, you know, we don't need to, we don't have a whole lot of room. NDOT doesn't have a whole lot of places to store these things, so we order them as they come in, the contractor installs them. These are funded projects, so, you know, we're not having to wait for some, earmark to fund this project. It's more of a just timing of the construction and getting the design complete. So, we typically say it's around 8 months. We've been picking that, pace back up, but, we say about 8 months after the ballot closes to get it to construction.
Nice.
All right. So, like she said, we're talking about 2025 for it to get installed.
We'll have a little bit here.
All right.
When they get installed, have a little champagne toast.
Yeah. So I think, any more questions in the chat online? Okay, great. So we will make some edits and refine this plan. That's more details. You'll all be able to see that, and then communicate with your council member to schedule another meeting, and we'll put that online as well. So you'll, even if you can't make it to the next meeting or so forth, it'll be posted online too.
Sounds great. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Very helpful.
Thank you. Councilmember, you want to say anything else? Okay, I'm going to close out the meeting.